There comes a moment in life when everything you've built begins to fall apart, not with noise or chaos, but with silence. The kind of silence that sits heavy on your chest. I remember that night vividly. I was sitting on my bedroom floor surrounded by the quiet wreckage of a life I thought I had under control. A job I had lost, a relationship that slipped away, a version of myself I could no longer recognize. Everyone kept telling me, "You'll be okay, you're strong." But strength wasn't what I felt. I felt hollow, empty, like the world had cracked me open and I didn't know how to put myself back together. For a long time, I thought brokenness meant failure. I believed it meant something was wrong with me, that I wasn't enough, that I had messed up beyond repair. But the truth didn't hit me until much later. I wasn't breaking down. I was breaking open. I wasn't falling apart. I was finally becoming real. It started the day I stopped pretending everything was fine. I used to be that person, the one who smiled through everything, even when my world was collapsing. I wore happiness like armor, thinking if I looked strong, maybe I'd start to feel that way. But one evening, I walked into my father's old study after he passed. His coffee mug was still sitting by the window, half full, dust collecting on the rim. Something in me just shattered. I sat on the floor and cried for hours, the kind of cry that shakes you, that empties years of silence. And for the first time, I realized that strength isn't about holding it all together. Sometimes, strength is letting yourself fall apart in order to heal. Not long after that, I lost someone I loved deeply. It wasn't a dramatic ending. No screaming, no slamming doors. Just quiet distance that grew until there was nothing left to save. I blamed myself for months. I replayed every moment, every word I could have said differently. But with time, I understood something powerful. Sometimes love leaves not to destroy you, but to reveal the parts of yourself you've been neglecting. That heartbreak became the mirror that showed me how much of myself I had given away just to be loved. Losing them wasn't the end. It was my invitation to finally love myself. One evening, I sat at a bus stop in the rain, numb from everything. An old man beside me looked over and said, "You look like someone learning how to be human again." I smiled weakly, not really knowing how to respond. He continued, "You're not broken. You're just softening where life made you hard." His words sank deep into me. Maybe that's what healing really is. Not fixing yourself, but softening enough to feel again. Pain wasn't my punishment. It was my teacher. Months later, I lost my job. Another quiet ending. One email, one short conversation, and then nothing. At first, I felt worthless. My entire identity had been tied to what I did, to how useful I was. But losing that title forced me to face who I was underneath it all. I wasn't a position or a paycheck. I was a person. Scared, yes, but still standing. And maybe that's the point. Sometimes life takes away everything false until all that remains is what is true. One morning, after months of drifting, I went for a walk along a quiet river. The air was cold but kind, and the world felt slower, softer. I stopped halfway across a bridge, looked at my reflection in the water, and whispered, "I don't know who I am anymore." But this time, those words didn't scare me. They freed me. Because maybe healing isn't about becoming who you were before you got hurt. Maybe it's about becoming someone new, someone honest, someone real. And that's when it clicked. I wasn't broken. I was being rebuilt. Every scar was a doorway. Every ending was an opening. Every pain had been shaping me into someone I was finally beginning to recognize. Life had to break me open so I could meet myself for the first time. Not the version who needed to be perfect, but the one who was brave enough to be real. So if you're watching this and you feel like everything is falling apart, please remember this. You are not falling to pieces. You are falling into place. Every crack in you is where the light gets in. Every tear, every loss, every ending. They're all part of the story that will one day make sense. You're not weak for breaking. You're just becoming real. If this story touched something inside you, give it a like. Share it with someone who's learning to heal. Subscribe to Legacy Alive, where every story is a reminder that even in our darkest moments, we are still becoming. Tell me in the comments, what moment in your life made you realize you were becoming your true self? Because sometimes being broken isn't the end. It's the beginning of being real.